Eugene, Springfield, Lane County, Oregon. Support our work. Make a donation at strpod.com. Thank you for listening to Spent the Rent podcast. And now, here's your host, Patty Rose.
Hello, I am Patty Rose. Welcome to the Spent the Rent podcast. My guest today is a candidate for state representative in the Springfield area, Ky Fireside. Ky, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is really cool. I was unaware of your campaign because I've kind of just got back into the cycle, and I did an episode with your opponent, Kori, and then I got roasted all over YouTube because people are like, you got to talk to someone that's actually progressive. And so I'm like, hey, this is the beginning of the cycle. I'm going to reach out to him. Thanks for being a jerk. And then so thank you for being here, and it's really cool to meet you. We've been talking a little bit off air a little bit, and so far I'm very impressed with your demeanor and just kind of like the way that you, I think, represent Springfield well. So we're going to talk a little bit about your campaign and why you're running and all that kind of stuff. So first of all, for the people who are just now hearing about you, who is Ky and what made you decide to run?
Well, if you remember when Starbucks was unionizing a few years back, I was kind of leading that fight. So that was sort of the start of my local activism. If you were following any of the flock stuff over the summer, I co-founded the group Eyes Off Eugene.
As of Eugene? Is it
eyes
off
like
Eugene?
Eyeballs.
Okay.
Like, don't look at us.
Yeah.
I co-founded the group Eyes Off Eugene that was kind of leading the fight against mass surveillance, especially flock locally. And that kind of snowballed into Senate Bill 1516 that the governor just signed.
Yeah. Yeah, you were telling me a little bit about that off air. That's really cool. So you spent the full session you were up in Salem, correct? That's good. So you're kind of getting a little bit of a practice run of how this is going to work.
Trial by fire.
Yeah. I grew up in Salem, and I was telling you I used to swim a lot in that fountain out front. It's like 2 feet deep. But okay, so your campaign website, which is kyfights.org or .org. Your campaign centers around the idea of Ky Fights. What does that mean to you, and who are the people that you're fighting for?
So I'm fighting for the whole community of Springfield. I feel like a lot of us are under attack. There's a lot of federal overreach, and being kind of centrist milquetoast is not sufficient defense. I think a lot of us, especially those of us who identify as trans, we want someone that is going to take a really strong stance and say, I will fight for this community to maintain their human rights. My show is about it's the underrepresented of Lane County, but to me that's pretty broad, and sometimes I don't focus as much as other people might on like the how do I say this, like the marginalized, because that's covered a lot in Eugene in a good way. And so for me, interviewing Springfield is underrepresented, because it's like we have very few people that get long form interviews. And so this is a great opportunity, first of all. And, I think that it's important. You've already kind of just, touched on like a difference between you and your opponent. Kori Rodley is a friend of mine. I mean, we've met through the podcast. I think she's very gracious. I think you guys both do a good job. I don't vote in Springfield, so I don't know how I'd go on this one, but I'm very impressed with your campaign. And I like what you said that you'll represent all of Springfield, because that's the challenge. Springfield is a little bit more of a obvious blend. People think that it's very red, and it's not. It's like 58% blue, and so I think that people are a lot more, it's even the people that are more on the conservative side, I think are a lot more receptive to the trans rights and stuff like that than people realize, and so that's will be a good chance to talk about that. So you do use they them pronouns, and I wanted to make that clear. And then let's say, where are we at? You talk about standing up for working families on your website. What is the biggest pressure that they're facing right now? We'll talk about cost of living and working families, and then what would you do to ease that? Yeah, affordability is a huge issue. I don't know about you. I haven't bought eggs in months. I can't afford it.
Yeah.
My car right now needs a new battery. I can't afford that either.
Yeah.
Housing is ridiculously expensive. It feels like everything is just out of reach. So
yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff you've been doing it's all volunteer work. I think people don't understand this in Springfield city government, city council, mayor, they don't get paid. So I had a buddy, Zach Bassett, who was on the school board, and he was like, I'm not going to not get paid to be taking all this heat online. And so this is a bigger position. I mean, and that gives us a chance to talk about like kind of the systems of government, right? So we have the city level, we have the county level, and we have the state level. And you mentioned this at the beginning of this, that at the state level, we really see that we're fighting the federal government right now. And so Oregon's doing a lot of work there. But I think that a lot of people just don't understand the chain of commands and how things go. So why is it that specifically state representative was where you wanted to start with?
It's kind of my only option, actually. So I live in Springfield, but I live outside the city boundary. I cannot serve on the city council. I cannot be on the budget committee. I don't live in the city limits.
Yeah.
So I cannot do any of those
really?
things.
Because there's no district, right?
Yeah, this is the lowest office that I can seek.
Wow, because it's a good one. And this is I don't know the compensation, but
it's very low.
I'm sure it is. But still, so it's cool to hear, back to what we were talking about with cost of living and working families, that it's cool to hear your input, that you are somebody that struggles financially too, as am I. I mean, I just recently started a business, so I'm barely making an income. And if you're watching or listening, Stutz Cuts Barbershop. But that's good to hear, because we need people like that to be represented. I think that your kind of like age and youthfulness is a good asset. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's a funny thing, because we talked off air, and it doesn't really define everything about somebody, but there is like an understanding of like where you sit. You're kind of going to understand people in their 20s and in their 40s, especially, you know what I mean? And the rest of the people already have that stuff figured out at 60.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I just think that that's good. And I am a fan of Kori. And so I was very gracious with talking to her, but it's just really cool that there's more options. And I haven't even really dug into it. So, where am I going with this? Basically, like, what is your stance on the election so far, the campaign so far, and the differences and the contrast between you and your opponents?
Oh boy, there's just so much to unpack here. Politically, broad statement, I think I am further to the left. I am running as a Democratic Socialist. I have the DSA of Eugene Springfield's endorsement. I have the Working Family Party's endorsement. Both of those are, I feel like the word progressive has been kind of co-opted, sure. But, politically, yeah, I'm farther left. I do think we need to be prioritizing like social safety nets and just the good of the people at large. Kori, from what I've seen of her at City Hall, she is a little bit more beholden to business interests. I don't know if you heard this. Our city just fired 2 of our librarians, removed 2 library positions, because they don't want to increase business taxes. They don't want to increase the payroll tax. And so when there's a budget shortfall, their answer to that was to cut the library budget instead of slightly increasing the tax on businesses.
I haven't heard about this yet, and I'm sure Sean Van Gordon is not happy. He's big on the library.
This is happening under his watch.
Yeah, I know, but there's a nuance to this, because I'm as far as business, I did an interview with the Oregon Rebate, Antonio Gisbert, who's an amazing person.
I know Antonio.
Yeah, he's great. And I just was listening to it, and I'm like, so wait a minute, gross tax, okay? Because I'm like very much against gross tax, because people don't understand how business works in the margins, where there's like, there's like an 8% margin, and then you got to give 3% to Visa, and then they want 3% for the rebate, and it's like, dude, so they get 2, like
right.
So there's a challenge to that, and I know that there's like tricky accounting and things like that, but the city is so limited on how much revenue they can bring in anyway. So
yeah,
I agree with the democratic socialism stuff on the whole, on like especially a federal level. Like, I think we need universal health care, but that would have to be federally done.
No,
you don't think so?
No.
Okay, explain why.
You don't know about this. This is great. All right. So we have something called the Universal Health Plan Governance Board in Oregon. Their job is to figure out how we can get to universal health care here.
Right.
September of this year, they are going to present a plan to the legislature for how we get there. And then next legislative session, starting in 2027, the legislature can vote on bringing universal health care to Oregon.
That's huge.
We're so close.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think that that's kind of something that would be agreed upon across the board. We need stuff localized, and I think that for a long time, the conservatives were pushing for smaller government, but now that they're in power, they're like, no, we just want our power. Like, but with Andrew Yang in New York, they were doing stuff with universal health care. It's probably the only city in America that it would work, as far as like I guess just with the budget wise is what I'm saying. Cause I don't know how they would do that. And I'm sure that we'll learn more as it goes along. I've done episodes with people from Healthcare United or Healthcare for All, Oregon and stuff like that. And we've talked about some of these steps, but that's really good to hear that it's actually coming to fruition.
Yeah, we're so close.
I mean, didn't they put it to vote to see if people are even interested in it first? And then it was like overwhelmingly yes, right?
Yeah. So the product of that vote was this Universal Health Plan Governance Board.
Okay. Yeah. And then they can kind of find ways to fund it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know much about that part yet as far as the funding?
We don't know anything till they give us this report in September.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to the next topic. Housing, which is obviously a huge issue.
Mm-hmm.
Housing keeps coming up. It's one of the biggest issues. What's your actual plan to make housing more affordable and available?
Have you heard of the Renters Bill of Rights?
No, you can. Yes, I have, but you can explain it a little better.
Okay. Renters Bill of Rights was sort of invented in Portland, but it's this list of protections for renters, protecting against evictions, protecting against rent increases. It's going to help tie rent to the minimum wage. And it's just, like I said, it's
kind of like rent control in New York or whatever, a little bit.
It's kind of like that. Yeah. Like it's going to limit how much your rent can be increased.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to make things like if you're a teacher, you cannot be evicted during the school year. Or if you're a student, you cannot be evicted during the school year.
Yeah. And that's good. I mean, a lot of that stuff, again, I've seen these things kind of go both ways. I've seen them backfire. Kevin Cronin is a good friend of mine. He's like one of the biggest renter advocates in the area. And we've talked about how they put the cap, and then now it's like the standard is like the difficult thing. So, I mean, I guess I don't know exactly how it was before because it was kind of a free for all. So like each place would decide what they were doing, but I don't know. I did also produce a podcast for a while called the Eugene Real Estate Podcast, and I was just behind the scenes. And one of the things that really got to me was this woman was like, people think that these landlords own like 100 properties, and sometimes it's 5 to 7. I'm like, yeah, but I'm less concerned with your 4th and 5th investment as I am with someone's home, and she was gracious about it. But like, there's such a balance in handling. That's what government's job is, to be, like you were saying earlier, we need to make sure that we're mindful of business because that's what generates the revenue, and then yet we have to also make sure that it's fair and not stacked against people. I don't know how they could like make the cap not, I mean, we cannot just keep going up 10% every single year.
No, that's way too high.
Like it's insane. It's insane. I mean, literally it's going to double every 10 years. I mean, that's wild.
It's totally untenable. It's absolutely ridiculous. You talked about Kevin. I know Kevin. I love Kevin.
Yeah, he's great.
Eugene Tenant Alliance has endorsed my campaign.
Oh, nice.
I was a renter here for a long time. It was terrible.
In Eugene?
In Springfield.
In Springfield, yeah.
But a lot of this stuff, I want to focus more on knocking down some of these big corporate landlords, these giant corporations, not hurting, individual people who might own a couple of properties. But like, I don't think a private equity firm should own a single family home.
I think private equity firms should be illegal. Yeah. I mean, literally, like that. And it's, I mean, can you explain what that is? Like for layman's terms, like I can try to help too. I mean, private equity firms, basically like Red Lobster, John Oliver did a whole thing about it. Red Lobster is an example where they had like basically bought their own location from themselves. So it's like a different shell company that buys it. And then they basically milk it. I mean, it's like ways of bankrupting their own business.
It's economic vampires.
Yeah, it's disgusting. And everybody needs to look into that stuff because it's vulture type comics, and I mean, if you're making money off of money and that's your whole business, then you're a scumbag. But still, it's interesting. And John Oliver did on Last Week Tonight did a really good explanation of all that stuff. And then he bought a Red Lobster like because it had been liquidated, and so it was pretty funny. And the only thing that they served was hush puppies. But yeah, that stuff's really interesting. And then Airbnb needs to be limited. I've read studies that were as much as 18% of the vacant homes in Eugene are owned by Airbnb. And so they're like never going to be housed. Like it's just temporary stuff.
That's housing that is not on the market.
Yeah. It's criminal. And I got to get Andrew Callig on the show again, because he was a attorney for Airbnb, and he has a different perspective. And he ran for Congress, and I really like him a lot. He's in New England area, which I actually really think is important on the city level, because the Commonwealth is what it's all about. And that's why everybody supports police, because everybody's related to one. and it's like the Irish, the Italians, it's like all the different cultures that make up the New England area. And I think that he has this different, it's a different level. So you say democratic socialist, the people that are kind of like Commonwealth are like a little bit more traditional, I would say, but also still very much down to help people with the reasonable things. So there's a balance there. So I think he brings a lot to the table. He's the president of the Eugene City Club, and I've talked to him a lot off air about Airbnb and stuff, and I need to get some of those facts straight, but I've definitely heard those numbers. 18% of the vacant homes. I mean, that's wild. They're buying city blocks.
Yeah.
And then just letting them sit there so that they can just use them as investment properties. And I don't know what the answer is. Like I've always been afraid of just end all be all universal housing, because I just think that is extremely expensive. But and also, like that woman said, it is an asset that, like, when you buy these things because you can, and then you can invest that time and energy, because it's a lot. Sometimes you're not making profit for like the first 4 or 5 years of renting a property, you know. And I don't know, it's a lot of work. How do you think that it differs from Eugene to Springfield? I mean, is it just basically the same kind of issue on a smaller scale in Springfield, or you've looked into it a lot more, because like you said, you spent a lot of time up in Salem too.
Yeah. A few years ago, I actually worked with John Lively on this. I kind of looked into how many single family homes we have listed for rental on Airbnb and Verbo and stuff. There's like 1,000 houses
in Springfield.
In Springfield, Eugene.
Wow.
I mean, and is that going to solve the problem? No, but like that would take a huge chunk out.
Yeah.
To just have those open for permanent housing instead of whatever you want to call this temporary vacation rental thing.
Yeah, it's and I mean, how many days a year is Eugene and Springfield getting tourism? I mean, there's like 6 football games,
right?
And the rest of the time it's raining. But I always say it's a nice place to live, but I wouldn't want to visit.
Yeah.
Because people are like, what do you do on vacation? I'm like, me, I wouldn't go here. I mean, I don't do a lot of the stuff that people love in Eugene, like hike, and that's basically what it is. You got to be outside, and it's a beautiful place. I mean, of course, Eugene Springfield area is amazing. And I think that Springfield's on the uptick and Eugene's kind of like struggling and floundering, and they're trying to find their way. And I actually feel like there's a lot of improvement happening. You can kind of start to see some of the work being done is starting to pay off. But yeah, housing is a huge issue. I mean, the number is startling. It's like 4,500 to 5,000 people a night. And I think that's just Eugene that are homeless and or houseless. And so that is pretty wild. And then I work on 7th Street, Stutz Cuts Barbershop. No, and I see a lot of the front facing experience of a lot of the people that are very, very, I don't want to say beyond help, but just that they're definitely pretty far from getting stabilized, and it's tough because I work right next to the Buckley House, and then like there's a methadone clinic. And I mean, these people are really trying to get their stuff together, but they're definitely like at the beginning level of it.
Yeah.
And it's difficult because how do you even start?
Yeah, because you have, in pretty much all of these situations, you have sort of like a 3-pronged issue, and you can't solve any of them without solving all of them. And
right.
It's you're unhoused, you have a mental health issue, and you have a substance abuse issue.
100%.
And, we don't have the infrastructure set up to fix all of these problems. And if you go and just try to fix one of them, you can't. You need to fix all 3 of those simultaneously.
Yeah. And that's exactly why. I mean, I got a lot of crap because I was interviewing career politicians, like Kori Rodley and Sean Van Gordon, who's the mayor. He's running for county commissioner. I mean, David Lovell, his opponent, is absolutely, first of all, the board at the county commissioner level is like completely in chaos right now. Like they just will not listen to each other to get nothing done. And with conservatives, a lot of times the way I look at it is they're like, we've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas.
Yeah.
But David Lovell was fighting a treatment center, and I mean, he was I don't know why I make this such a huge deal, because he was one lone vote against it, for a treatment facility being put in Springfield. Because when the decriminalization of drugs happened, that was the whole caveat. It's like, we have to do this first so that we can get the funding for these treatment centers. And then when we vote to put that in, he's like, nope. So he's literally overriding the will of the people. Because, yeah, I know Thurston doesn't give a shit about anybody outside themselves, but those are my words, not Kai's. No, but
that's still my constituency.
No, I mean, it's difficult because, like, how do I word this? There's a balance when you work really hard and you put a lot of effort into what you're building, and then you see like people coming in and just not desecrating it, not respecting it. It's really difficult. So I have a lot of empathy for the people in Thurston. The problem is that I'm like, yeah, I care about you guys too, but do you care about anybody? You know, like in the Thurston. I mean, I just say that because if you drive through Albertson's parking lot, you want to like hit people with your car, but like. I guess
you should come canvassing with me in Thurston.
Yeah, that's scary. This guy's got guns, but no, I mean they're and you know what? People are very active. I think people don't understand in Springfield how much people actually do pay attention, but they kind of have like a 1990s, early 2000s kind of decorum about how to handle politics because they're like, come on, let's be a little bit more respectful. Like, let's keep it a little bit, more under wraps, which I don't know if that's effective. Like you were saying, being more progressive is good because we have to fight the federal government,
Yeah, like I feel like a lot of Democrats right now are like, oh, let's keep decorum, let's be polite. And then you have these Republicans that are like, I think you need to be in a conversion camp.
Yeah, exactly. So
and like
exactly. I have a balance of this. That's a good thing to talk about because sometimes I get shit for just being like too cordial or too respectful of the conservative party, but I'm like, how are we going to win some of those supporters,
Let me tell you.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is my friend's dad. He's a Republican. He voted for Trump. He also voted for Bernie Sanders.
They're populist is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, there's this base of people that are kind of right of center that are probably self-described libertarian, but they will vote. Have their priorities so out of order. Like we were just saying, they're talking about maintaining decorum, and nobody cares about that right now because there's Republicans that are telling me I should be dead.
Yeah, it's tough, and I don't know if I agree that nobody cares, but I don't know the right answer. Like like I definitely have found myself kind of falling in that place because I'm like, we have to kind of listen to each other, work together. But like you're saying, how is it that why do we always have to be the good guys? As far as like how to be the patient and kind ones, and it's like we always. And I don't want to make this sound sexist, but it's like we're always the stoic wife, that's just like, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. And it's like, nope, sometimes it's not good to do that. So I think that there's an importance to have balance, and especially on boards. Mm-hmm. So as much as I may criticize someone like David Lovell, I do think that there's a point where representation matters. So even for the people I disagree with, I think that's important for that to be on the board, as long as they can actually get work done. And that's not happening. So he needs to go. But no, I don't know. It's tough. I mean, I do think that there's some merit on trying to work across the aisle kind of thing. You can talk a little bit more about that if you want. But
no, we saw this with Flock a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
People like their privacy. They didn't want to be spied on. And we had people coming to us from, the right, the left, the center, just all over. We had all of these people that agreed on one thing. It felt like it was the last nonpartisan issue in the world.
Yeah.
And then even Senate Bill 1516 in the state, the Senate voted that through unanimously.
Wow. So explain a little bit. You said you had basically co-authored this bill. Is that correct? Or you?
Yeah.
So explain what that's all about.
Senator Przonski convened a work group. He invited me to it to be kind of the voice of community interest in terms of automatic license plate readers. The product of this group was Senate Bill 1516, which was a safety omnibus, got pared down a lot, but it had a lot of restrictions for the use of automated license plate readers like Flock or any other brand.
Mm-hmm.
And so we worked on that for months and months and months. And then once it was in the Capitol, I was up there almost every single day because we were still amending it while it was like running through. We ended up with like 15 different amendments that had been proposed for it.
Yeah. And where's that at now? They're done, right? They're not going to be in Springfield or Eugene?
Yeah. Springfield and Eugene both canceled their contracts. Lane County does not have a contract. So their Flock is gone.
That's good. I mean, I talked to Mayor Karen Knudsen about that when she was on, I don't know, September or something. And, the issue that I was bringing up then was how it's like a violation of the rights of immigrants a lot of times, but it's more than that. I mean, there's, it's interesting the way that our this is a good transition to the next topic too, public safety, talking about like criminal justice and that kind of stuff that it's interesting how much you do have rights to privacy, even from your record. Like you don't need to have your record checked every 2 seconds. You know, you're not in jail walking around town. So,
Right.
so there's definitely issues with it. I do think that there's safety concerns that we have to figure out the balance of. I mean, you know, catching people like if you watch the Manhunt documentary about the Boston bombing, for example, that was done through surveillance. The way that they caught those people, and it's kind of a there's such a balance. Like I definitely don't think that flock cameras are good, but at the same time, like when you have to be so fast at catching stuff, how are we going to go about this? I don't know. It's tough. So speaking of public safety, you know, it's funny because I kind of like whip these questions together using a little bit of AI, which everyone gives me a crap for. And then this one, you were telling me that doesn't say that on my website, because the question was on your site, you mentioned safer communities, which is not true. And then what does that look like? But the question really is that, let's talk about public safety and your stance on policing. I know that the slogan "All cops are bastards" is very unpopular in Springfield. And I think it's nuanced because the people that don't like it don't want to actually understand what they mean. Because what they mean is that if you know that something is nefarious going on and you just don't say anything to preserve your job, then you don't care about the people, you care about your job. And so that is my understanding of the definition of all cops are bastards. And could you comment on that and then talk about like how you feel about the balance of trying to audit the cops, but also be respectful to the service that they give us?
Yeah, I think I've got a pretty unique perspective here. I used to work as a 911 dispatcher.
Oh, cool.
So I worked with a lot of cops, and we were a consolidated center. So
Yeah.
I worked with sheriff, 3 different police departments. We dispatched for like the fire law enforcement guy. And also some of them really thought that they could fix it from the inside.
Mhm.
You know, like this is not a monolith. No group is a monolith.
Absolutely. And that's why the slogan, I think, it gets lost on people. But I mean, it's funny when people are like, it's not a good slogan, the all cops are bastards. I'm like, yeah, but if it's piercing, then it's a good protest. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Like it's supposed to, I mean, you want to get people's attention, but I do think that sometimes, I mean, I know police officers from being a barber for many years that are just amazing people, but they've literally admitted to me that there is things that like the thin blue line, like they literally have told me that that's real, so I don't know. It's tough. I mean, I just think that sometimes the slogans, it really disenfranchises the work that does get done. The issue that people have a lot of times with policing isn't that police are good. It's the fact that it's unbalanced, that they only take care of certain people and they automatically, assume that somebody, I mean, they're literally built-in biases.
Yeah. I mean, what's the origin of slogans like this? It's people that are pissed off.
Exactly.
They're hurt. One, that 8th one. Yeah, I can see how you can get to the point that all cops are bastards.
Yeah, for sure. And again, it's like, it's if you know something is happening that's serious and you do nothing about it, then that's pretty telling, So
like, how about a little self-policing?
Right.
Guys?
So how would you kind of try to improve that messaging? How would you approach that? Because like I said, I think that the slogan is really not effective for Springfield. It doesn't work. And yet, there's things like David Lovell, who is a sitting county commissioner now, that he had an AR outside of his business downtown, or his businesses that downtown. And like, so if somebody breaks glass, I mean, I've had my window broken at my barbershop. I'm not going to kill someone over that. Like, that's an insane overreach. So I don't know where I'm going with that, but you can kind of comment on it.
I mean, I guess I would ask what the goal is, but look, I grew up in Chicago.
Okay. Yeah.
I never had a firearm pointed at me until I was here.
Wow.
For drag story hour. And the Proud Boys showed up, and I had a firearm pointed at me because I said that a drag queen should be allowed to read a book.
Yeah. Wow. Where was that at?
That was right in front of, let's see, it's Sparrow and Serpent, or I think it has a different name.
Hesitant to make the comparisons to like Nazi Germany with well, but listen, I'm going to get there. So I'm really hesitant to, but no, it's actually happening. I mean, that is literally the henchmen for Trump, and that And and I mean, it's Easter today, and so I don't know where I was going to segue into. I'm not going to make a religion joke. I was just going to say, because I guess Trump was in the hospital yesterday. He is 80 something years old. And how ironic will it be if Joe Biden outlives him? Is Joe Biden still alive? I'm just joking, but
pretty sure.
No. Anyway.
No, but I want to go back.
Yeah,
just a second. There does feel like there's a gap to be bridged here, and it's so hard. I don't know how I would change that messaging. We got to find out what the goal is. When people are saying all cops are bastards, like, okay, cool, but what do you want? And we just had No Kings 3, and I was part of
it was big.
Yeah, I was part of the planning committee for that. I was part of why that was in Springfield instead of Eugene, but also what they had me do was be the police liaison. So go and work with the police ahead of time to figure out, like, hey, where are you guys going to be? Don't step on our toes. You know, we don't want to cause trouble, and we don't want you to make this worse for us.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we just need balanced policing. I mean, that's the whole message. Like it's like the Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter debate, you know, and that was a very Springfield centered. I mean, that slogan took off in Springfield, the All Lives Matter. And I'm like, yeah, but that's the point, is that they don't right now. It's like the way that the actions are happening. And so that's where, like, I could see, like, you know, criminal justice for all kind of thing, meaning, but there's ways that you word it that it makes it seem like the people are the problem. And I mean, your rights being completely violated because of biases that they're taught and trained to have, like straight up taught and trained to have. You know, I think there's been a shift where, like, the militarization of the police departments, where their focus is coming home. Like, I've literally talked to cops and they're like, my job is to go home to my family. I'm like, no, it's not. Like, I'm sorry, it is. Of course, that's a part of it. Yeah. But, like, your job is to protect and serve the community.
That's something that I think is a really big difference in culture between EPD and SPD.
Mm-hmm.
SPD are so much more chill.
Yeah, you know, well, that's interesting to hear.
EPD is out here, like, ready to declare a riot so they can get their LRAD out.
Well, and I think that's because of I think that there's reasons for that, though, because I think Springfield, like I said, the toned down politics, it's like slower pace to stuff, which is frustrating at the same time, you know. But, like, I think that there's, in Eugene, I mean, there's literally an activism of other activists, you know. Yeah. So, and I say this because I believe more in advocacy than activism, and I think both have their merit, right? But this is where I would be a bridge. So, like, if somebody that's on the farther extreme of my tent, you know, like the Liberal Party, is more of an activist, I think that has merit. But I don't think that I'm going to be the person that's going to be there, because I want to make sure that I can reach across to the more conservative. I hate the terms like moderate and all that stuff, but I definitely have values, like business wise, that are pro conservative, you know. And that being said, I don't think that that's a negative thing to be basically kind of like trying to work with everybody. I mean, that's the whole point. Like you said at the very beginning of this, you know, you want to represent all of Springfield, right? So how do we do that when we have differing views? That's a good, actually, we'll talk about that a little bit.
One thing that I was told is a difference in politics means you disagree on how to solve a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And what we have now with things being so divided is people disagreeing on what the problem is, or whether something is a problem,
or if it's a problem at all, which is crazy, because if somebody feels like it's not a problem, that's not a problem to them.
Right.
Because if somebody else is saying it is a problem to them, how is that invalidated? You know what I mean? Like that, it's just frustrating, but I don't know. I just think that you know what I mean, though, about when it comes to, like, advocates and activism, I think that those are just buzzwords sometimes. And I just want to make sure that it's clear, because they're both very, very important. But advocacy is actually what's getting stuff done. Activism is getting people riled up, you know? And so, I mean, it's not necessarily bad. I mean, there's, like you said, people are pissed and people want action, you know?
No, there's a place for it.
And so I think that there's a balance. What I think is dangerous is when inside of the Democratic Party alone, people are like, you know, these people are trying to control our lives. And if you don't think exactly like this, then we're going to shun you and we're going to completely bash everything that you say. And I mean, because of interviewing Kori Rodley, your opponent, I was literally called a white moderate. And I'm like, what does my race have to do with it? You know? And first of all, I'm not white, I'm Irish. And second of all, I mean, that's kind of a half joke, but there's history there. There literally is. That, like, I mean,
my family's Jewish. We weren't white for a while.
Yeah, for a while. Yeah, no, it's true. And right now, that's an interesting thing too. I mean, the Democratic Party. How do you come to terms with that? Because I'm totally okay with being anti-Netanyahu, but I'm not okay with just being anti anything, like any individual label. You know, it's like how and the Jewish community has taken so much heat for supposedly being the new Nazis, which is insane. It's insanity. And I will die on that hill as far as it goes. Like my biggest concern during that whole time was the Jewish students, because I was working on campus during the big, push. And yes, it was a genocide. There's no question that what we saw. But how does that have anything to do with your family? Meaning, like that's here that I don't know. Yeah, that's a whole different story. We could be here for days.
I haven't caught any flack for that.
That's good to hear.
But
that's
I'm also not afraid to call that a genocide.
For sure. And so there's that balance. I don't know. That's the thing that is frustrating, because sometimes people's approach will set people off. So like the tone and the way you say things, because I might say it differently than other people, because I'm an individual, and so you'll get a lot of shit for it. That's why Springfield politics are what's more near and dear to my heart, because I think that there's a little bit more of a calculated kind of, I don't want to say slower pace, but yeah, kind of a slower pace, because government takes time, as you know. I mean, you spend a lot of time working in it. So we're going to get out of here pretty soon. I wanted to give you a chance one more time to talk about the contrast between you and your opponents. I mean, Kori Rodley is probably the favorite as far as like at least there's like how many people are running? There's like 5 or something. 3? Okay.
There's 3 Democrats in the primary, and then there is 1 Republican.
Okay. So yeah, speak a little bit more again on the contrast between you and your opponents. Obviously with the conservative or with the Republican, it's probably very different. Really focus on Kori. I mean, like what you had kind of mentioned it before, that you feel like she's maybe milquetoast is what your word was, but you can talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, we've met, we've talked. I think she's a really nice person. I think she is kind, but I don't think she's a very strong fighter. I don't think she's particularly energetic and dynamic. I think that she's also doing a different balancing act when it comes to policy. So for me, people first, always, every decision, people first. And for her, she's making these calculations that are like, well, what about the business interests? And I don't just mean small business, but like, I want to talk about this payroll tax for a second and get into it just so that it's a little bit better understood. This payroll tax is like parts of percentages. It is so low. So the amount that we were asking them to increase it was 0.01%. So like 1% is a penny per dollar, 0.1% is a penny per $10, and 0.01% is 1 penny per $100.
Wow.
And this is split 50-50 between the employer and the employee.
So it's less than a penny, which pennies don't even exist.
It's a penny per $200.
Yeah.
And so that's what we were asking them to increase it. And they say, no, they don't want to do that because of business interests. I get it. They're worried that businesses might leave. However, I personally went and canvassed a bunch of our downtown businesses. Those are our small businesses, local businesses. Like Walmart is not going to leave. The paper mill is not going to leave because you increase this tax by 0.01%. And the thing about our downtown businesses is that they know that a library brings foot traffic. And they are in favor of increasing this tax, and they're in favor of using this tax to protect the library because that protects their business interests.
Yeah.
So when the city makes this decision, it's not just that they are disregarding the wants of like the community members. They're also ignoring
of the business.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. I mean, and anytime I get that little, I was a homeowner until June, but anytime you get the sheet that basically says what your taxes are going for, I'm like, your property taxes. I look at it and I'm like, what would I wouldn't be down to cut any of these, like, public safety, education, all the stuff that really matters, and hopefully healthcare, and I mean, I don't know, that would definitely dramatically change things with healthcare, because I mean, I've seen studies that were like 4%. If 4% of your income, regardless if it's 0, then you pay 0. But if you make $200 billion, then yeah, you should pay 4% of that. And no one ever does. So we would have enough of a pot there if we were balancing that out. But I don't know. There's tricky economics too to kind of avoid that kind of stuff too. But
we have something like 72, 73 tax loopholes for giant corporations.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Like Starbucks, Amazon, they're not paying us what they should be. And we could be taxing them and using that money to fund healthcare for you and for me. And
exactly.
For and
I mean, that is like the number one thing that I would never flip parties is because I believe in universal healthcare, period. Because there's people that need it. I mean, you basically never can get a chance to come up if you don't have that you said it perfectly, social safety net. I mean, that is something that I absolutely believe in. And so that's really hopeful and optimistic that that's coming, maybe actually going to happen on the state level. And it's going to have to happen that way. I wish it was federal, but I mean, Kentucky can just deal with it, I guess. but all right. So let's get out of here real quick. Or if you are successful in this campaign, I don't like saying successful because I think that you've already been successful. So if you win and you get the seat and serve your term, what would you need to see change for you to feel like you were really delivering to the people in Springfield?
I feel like I was really delivering. I want everybody to feel like their life has improved in at least one aspect, but preferably more. I would like people to feel like they can afford to buy eggs again. Sorry, vegans. I want people to feel like their privacy is protected. You know, your daughter goes walking down the street and you're not worried that some camera is watching her.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I mean, government is designed to be for the people, not against the people, you know, theoretically, and especially on a city level. And we see it right now because we talked about this before. Federal government, the state's kind of fighting against them, and the city can focus on the individual smaller stuff with a way smaller pot of revenue streams of taxes. Like you said, like one penny for every $200. That's wild.
Yeah.
But I think that that's really good, that the things that you're fighting for, you know, we need representation, different voices, so that you can be like, don't forget about these guys, don't forget about these guys. And that, of course, that goes with business and with just everything, individual rights. And so, yeah, no, that's really good. And I really encourage people to look more into your campaign. The website is kyfights.org, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I got homework for you.
What's that?
Okay, you're going to come visit our library.
Okay.
You're going to leave here, go over down there, come down 5th Street.
Okay.
Come visit the library. But on the way, I want you to count how many yard signs are mine versus how many yard signs belong to somebody else.
Do you have a lot?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, that's good. That's exciting. That's good. You're optimistic. That's good.
Next time you think I'm the underdog.
Well, I'll be honest, and that's fair. I will be honest though. Like I purposely don't put too much time into getting this. This is the episodes I've done were the beginning of the cycle for the term. And now we're coming up on May. I mean, this is just what happens. I'm going to be sitting down with Thomas here at one point too. He's running for county commissioner, a good friend of mine. I slept through my alarm today. He was supposed to be here at 9:30 this morning. He was here. I was asleep. but so sorry, Tom. And we'll get him on. But no, I mean, I wish you well. And like I said, I don't vote in Springfield, but I think that we'll be in good shape, you know, and there's different styles of government, but I think that you actually both want the same things, like you and Kori, you know.
Yeah, it's a difference in politics. We just disagree on how to get there, but we agree on what the problems are. Yeah,
it's funny because we talked about when she ran against Johannes Tadeo and Chris McAllister, she was like, I kind of felt like the conservative, you know, and in a way, and I mean, that's fine. I think that there's some balance to that too. Eugene and Springfield are very different. So what would represent Springfield more is kind of that moderate kind of thing. Not saying you in the campaign. I'm saying that that's consistently what I see is that, but you know, you got a lot of support and a lot of, that's where activism has its merits, you know, like that's what I'm saying, you know, so I'm a bridge there where, you know, so anyway, do you want to say anything else before we get out of here? I mean, like I said, kyfights.org, KYFIGH TS. I don't know why I tried to do that. .org. And I think that you can learn a lot about your campaign there. And, you know, it's pretty basic. It's pretty simple in a good way where it's like really digestible.
It is like basic human rights shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you so much for being here. It's really cool to meet you and everybody listening. Look out for Ky Fireside's campaign.
Thank you.